Before I begin, I will put you on notice that I am speaking to you as mankind, and I will be speaking to you as mankind. And by proceeding farther, you are acknowledging notice of this notice. We've lost our understanding of what it means to be of mankind, the differences between law and legal. We think that law and legal are the same thing. They're not. We think that a doctor and a man are the same thing. We think that a woman and a mother are the same thing. They're not. These things are different titles. They come with different privileges and benefits in exchange for different duties and obligations. And we don't realize how many times every day we switch in and out of these titles. Most people don't realize what it means to be of mankind, realize that they are a unique entity, a creation of consciousness. We all look at gold and silver and diamonds as how rare and valuable they are, but look in the mirror. How valuable are you? How rare are you? So you understand that as a unique being, as a unique entity, as a creation of consciousness, as a man or woman, we have certain rights that are given to us that are not only held up spiritually in this realm, but also physically, once we know the way to speak the words to uphold those rights. A lot of us are confused and think that in order to uphold our rights, we have to diminish ourselves to that of legal entities, such as defendants and plaintiffs and those kind of things. Never to know that in order to have rights, we've got to come forward as man and woman, stop using their tools at those courts, and bring forth our courts. We don't seem to have the understanding that we are allowed to bring forth our individual court, not their court as a defendant or a plaintiff, but you, Billy or Samantha or Bentley. You are allowed to bring forth your individual court, the Samantha court, the Billy court, the Bentley court. You are allowed to bring forth your individual rules to that court. You are able to set the law. Now you might be wondering, well, laws, don't they have to go through legislation and government and all those other types of things? Well, something that we seem to have forgotten as man and woman is that government is our public servants. When a man or woman takes on the title of government, they are supposed to be taking on the title of a humbling servitude to those of mankind. However, when is the last time the government had to serve men and women? When is the last time the government even saw a man or woman? We have to understand that we've been diminishing ourselves to these titles all our lives, which is why they're able to do what they do to us, which may seem unlawful, but it's perfectly legal. Claims are in law, complaints are legal. You're going to learn that the society of that legal society is much like going to those courts and playing a game of Monopoly. You're taking on a token, such as defendant or plaintiff, or race car or thimble to the Monopoly board. Well, to that race car or thimble, Monopoly game rules that are just rules to you and I as a man or a woman are laws to that race car and thimble. Those Monopoly rules are laws to that race car or thimble. But to you and I as a man or a woman, they're just rules that we can obey or not obey. Well, this is the same thing that's going on in our society. When we take on the titles such as parents, citizen, person, individual, we are taking on duties and obligations. And with these duties and obligations, I, understanding free will and understanding how this world works, understand that by getting you to take on those titles, I am not violating your free will. I can do things to you that would otherwise be unlawful, but again, are perfectly legal. For example, if I arrest you, I'm going to read you your Miranda rights. Have you ever asked yourself, who is Miranda, and why would I want her rights? Think about that. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, we will assign one to you. Well, isn't that nice of him? Do you understand your new rights as I have just given them to you, or I have just offered them to you? What's the first thing everyone says? Yes, of course I do. Well, great. You have just given up your man and woman rights for the Miranda's rights. That is a contract for assumed consent. We think it is a benefit to take these rights, but it's not. We think it is a benefit to go into these courts and take these titles of defendants and plaintiffs. Well, let's look at the hierarchy of that a little bit, shall we? Let's talk about creation. Let's talk about the consciousness of creation. Whatever you may want to believe that is, it has no consequence on your rights. If we have creation, and creation somehow creates man or woman, this is the highest form of creation, man and woman. Now let's count the titles here. Follow along. Man and woman, they create the legal society. The legal society oversees the government. The government acts as agents. The agents operate the courts. In the courts, the judge oversees the prosecutors and the attorneys. The prosecutors and the attorneys oversee the defendants and the plaintiffs. The defendants and the plaintiffs are represented as the clients. Do you see how many titles I just gave you before you even open your mouth at that court of so-called law? Where was man? Right under the consciousness of creation. Where was defendant? 7 levels below the creation of creation. This stuff is a spiritual understanding. The people that really understand this show, that really run this world, they understand karmic laws. If I can get you to be my submissive and put the leather on, I can beat you with a belt. I can do things that would otherwise put me in jail if I did that to some stranger on the street, right? But because you took that title, I am now able to cause you harm, and it is perfectly legal and lawful. So when I take your children from you because you want to raise them Buddhist and homeschool or something, and the state says, well, we can't have that, I am taking them from a parent, a pair that rents. I am not taking them from a man or a woman that claims their son or daughter. I am taking them from the defendant that just diminished themselves again by calling themselves a parent under family court, in order for me to have full authority to administer your property how I see fit, and you gave me that right to do so, or I should say, authority to violate your rights. When you are done acquiring this knowledge, you're not going to speak the same, you're not going to write the same. Everything that you are going to do is going to be for honor and the removing of controversy. And I'll tell you what, you want to shut down the legal system? Go to honor. Because the legal system needs controversy in order to feed on. They need you to defend. Okay? I'll put it to you like this. If the legal society was Mike Tyson, and I give you the chance to defend against him and to get into the ring and box with him, would you want to do it? Of course not. That would be ridiculous. Or, if you go to the airport and you want to fly a plane because you just watched some YouTube videos on how to fly a plane, do you think that they're going to let you fly a plane? Of course not. That too would be ridiculous. So why is it that we go to these courts and defend against these attorneys that have been to legal school for 8 or 9 years, and we're going to try to defend against that? It too is ridiculous. Why would I want to defend against Mike Tyson? But I'll tell you what, I will put in a claim against Mike Tyson. I will press a claim against any man or woman that wants to press a false claim against me. Okay, but there is a big difference. I don't defend against any legal charges anymore. I simply go to honor. I simply bring forth remedy. I simply remove the controversy. And if they don't remove the controversy and forgive me of my trespass, then this stuff gets biblical on them. Then I can hold them liable as a man or a woman for using barratry to violate the rights of man or woman. But first, you've got to learn how to be a man or woman. This is stuff you have never been taught how to do. Even if you are seeking how to do this on YouTube or in the library, this knowledge has been hidden from you systematically. It is that powerful. The reality is that you are a man or a woman. And as a man or a woman, you have certain rights. And how are those rights upheld? By we the people. What is a man or a woman? A man or a woman is a creation of the Creator that is capable of upholding one's rights and expressing one's law. This is not to be confused with your legal estate, your race car or thimble monopoly token. Now, the problem with the monopoly token, or the person, or the legal entity created by our ability to create all kinds of masquerades, is that it always comes with duties and obligations, or has permissions or allowances. They are like how we can dress up for Halloween. We become Frankenstein, we become Dracula, we are always acting. We are on a stage, we are becoming something. But the thing that we don't realize is that we are always able to act. We don't have to be on the stage. We don't have to have an audience in order for us to act, because they give us this legal costume. This costume is called our legal person, and this legal person is created at birth. Let me talk for a second about birth versus born, so that you have a clear understanding of what is going on here. A lot of people have heard that the legal courts are under admiralty law, and all this kinds of stuff, or administrative courts, or that they are foreign courts, or that they are just banks. And okay, yeah, it could be multiples of those things, but what does it matter to a man or a woman? And this is what I'm going to get into here. First, let's talk about the person and how the person was created. So, there are 2 things happening at a hospital when a woman and a man go to a hospital to have a son or a daughter born to them. The other thing that is going on at a hospital is a mother and a father giving birth to a child. Did you spot the difference? Let me repeat those two sentences. I said, a man and a woman having a son or a daughter born to them, that is law. A mother and a father having a child birthed to them, that is legal. So what they are doing is they are basically saying, okay, yes, we understand that within the law you are having your property, the property being your son or daughter, and that you have the rights to that property as a woman or a man. However, under Admiralty, they can say, oh, let's make up something like, well, Admiralty has to do with water. Okay, cool. So, birth. Okay, what do we put boats in? Okay, we put them in the birth canal. Okay, so let's call that for the woman too. Great, it's a birth canal that this little child is coming out of. Okay, and what about the waters? Well, what happens when a child comes forward? Well, the mother's water breaks. Great, now we have waters breaking and coming upon the shore. Great, now we can give them their certificate of birth, their token, their person, their certificate of birth, the birth certificate. So now, what they are doing is they are making a record of the son or daughter being born, as well as registering the legal token. Okay, so there's two things going on here. Now, the problem with the legal person, or the token, is that most people take the birth certificate and, well, they basically crazy glue it to their face, and they become their token. It is kind of like if I was to take the Monopoly thimble token and tape it to my face and start thinking, oh, I am the thimble now, and losing that distinction between myself as a man and the token. So a lot of this understanding is going to be about unlearning and relearning. You're going to see how we've been kind of programmed and hypnotized, and you're going to see it, and it'll be like, oh, wow, this makes so much more sense now, because you have never had the eyes to look at things this way. So when you were given that birth certificate was supposed to be for you to have a token to prove that you have the citizen's rights to whatever country it is that you are in, and you also have the rights of man or a woman. But you were not supposed to use it as a form of identification. You are not supposed to run around and have people say, is that you? When they hold up your birth certificate and you be like, yeah. They hold up your driver's license and say, is that you? Yeah. Do you know what you just did? You just admitted to being that 3x4 piece of cardboard. You just admitted to being that piece of paper. If I say, is this you? And I hold up the race car, and we are in the middle of a game of Monopoly, you are going to say, yep, that's me. Great. That race car is now bound by all the duties and obligations of the game. Well, if you don't know that you are not the race car, you are going to have to pay $150 out of your own pocket every time you land on the tax square, or get thrown into prison every time you roll doubles 3 times in a row. So again, it is just a token. It was designed for you to use as a token. It wasn't designed for you to be used as personal identification. Basically, that's all it can be, is personal identification. Personal identification. Man and woman is undefinable, just like how God, or consciousness, or creation is undefinable.